Lunar Lake, bum 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 bum, Lunar Lake.
It's been over 4 months since Lunar Lake has arrived, and we have used it for a number of those months in different configurations.
Yeah.
I've got some thoughts. You got some thoughts?
I got thoughts.
All right, let's talk about them. So between the two of us, we have used 3 Lunar Lake devices over the past number of months.
Yeah.
I think we should go down first and talk about just the Lunar Lake specific stuff
Okay.
concerning these devices, and then also talk about device specific stuff in the later half.
Yeah, and it's important to mention, this isn't an official review. This is hands-on experiential testing for the last 4.5-ish months,
Yeah.
off and on.
We didn't run benchmarks, no battery rundown tests. This is purely like just us using these devices. What devices are we using, by the way? Well, first up in front of me, I have a Samsung Galaxy Book 5 Pro 365. So this has a lot of cool features, including S Pen support. Inside is a Core Ultra 7 256V with an ARC 140V. 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte SSD. What do you got rocking over here?
This is an MSI Prestige 13 AI Plus Evo A2V MG.
Oh.
It rolls off the tongue.
We're right off the tongue.
Right off the tongue.
What's inside?
It's a 32 gig Lunar Lake. It's the 258V. I was going to say the 285V. And it's the 32 gig configuration, which is important because I think yours is a 16 gig, right?
16 gig, yeah. This is 16 inches. This is 13 inch
Yep.
on the screen size. If you want to go see the rest of the details, there's a link down in the description. Also, the third device, which is weird, it's not here because somebody forgot to bring it in, is the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. The handheld, so it's a little bit different of a use case, but
yeah.
It still has Lunar Lake, and we're still going to talk about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've seen Intel-powered Claw handhelds before, but Lunar Lake felt like the kind of processor that this thing was made for, and I'm really curious to hear what your testing was like.
Yeah, so I think the best place to start off first is talking about battery life.
Yeah.
Because the big talk around Lunar Lake was efficiency, and speak of, multi-day battery life in certain situations.
Look,
right?
I've watched my wife use her MacBook Air, and she plugs it in, it seems like every 2 or 3 months. Like, it's an exaggeration.
That's a you.
But she sits on the couch, and she's never plugged in, and I'm sitting over there with my 12th gen Intel laptop, and I'm plugged in constantly if I want to do anything. And I've been jealous. Deep in my heart, I've been jealous.
Well, let's see if we're still jealous, because on this Samsung Galaxy Book 5 Pro 360, it has a 76 watt-hour battery. It's 16 inch, it's thin and light, so, I do like the size of it, but 76 watt-hour battery, not too bad for what I do, and I felt like I wasn't having to top it off too much, though I was pushing it pretty hard. We'll get into the performance a little bit later, but I mean, compared to the last number of laptops I've been trying, like I have tried the Strix Point, also a Snapdragon as well, different configurations, so they're not one-to-one, but I feel like the battery life on this was not, I wasn't stressing, I wasn't constantly reaching for the wall plug.
Well, so this is a slightly smaller battery. It's only 75 watt-hours. In a
75 in a 13 inch.
One less.
That's crazy.
Bigger bar better, though, Adam. That's what we always say here.
It's true, yeah. So,
But no, I never felt battery stress here. This machine is configured out of the box to clock everything down once you hit 20% battery. So I tend to plug in before I get to 20%, and then often I don't even let it charge up all the way. My use cases, I have 2 main use cases. One is here at the office when we're doing shoots, sitting in the podcast set for a couple hours a day and then doing work in the lab. And that means it's on pretty much all the time. If it doesn't come in fully charged in the morning, I'll usually plug it in midday. But if it comes in fully charged, it's good for the entire day and into the next, typically. At home, where I'm a little bit more of a casual user, mainly a desktop user, I'm not doing heavy stuff on the laptop ever. I charge it once a week. It's been very good, and it's been very analogous to the way I've watched my wife use her MacBook for years, which I think is their goal.
Okay, yeah. So I will say I did stress mine harder because I was doing work on this. I took this. This was the only laptop I brought.
I was
to
doing
CES.
work on this too.
Oh, I know, but like heavy duty workloads. Not trying to throw shade or anything. But I definitely was doing a lot of just my normal tasks at CES, having to review videos, having to edit a lot of photos, and then taking it with me. Usually during the day, if I ever needed to, I would whip it out and just, do a little bit of work. But back at the hotel, I definitely was was plugging it in, just because I never wanted to have to worry about it. So it's not like I was actually going back to the hotel and being like, oh, I don't need to charge. So yeah.
Well, when you're in that situation too, you want to make sure it's charged the next morning when you put it in your shoulder and head out the door for the day.
Exactly.
So that's a little bit of a different situation.
Well, and also then I was always to be sure to have 100% when I left during the day, and like I would come back to the hotel, and granted I wasn't doing a ton of stuff during the day. I would go back to the hotel and like still be like not drained that far at all. So
yeah, and so there's a couple of things they do here. One is that they do the screen off and sleep times are very aggressive out of the box on this machine.
Oh, okay.
So if you walk away, it uses Windows Hello, which we'll talk about the camera Hello version, which we'll talk about. If you walk away, it knows. And it'll turn off the screen. When you walk back up, if it's in the in between, if it's in the screen sleep, but the laptop is still awake, it'll just turn the screen back on, which is kind of nice, and it's very fast when it works.
I will say one of the nice things about this laptop, and I don't know if it's specific to Lunar Lake especially, or maybe just this brand, but I did have problems with shutting my lid, putting it in my backpack, and then all of a sudden, I would reach into it the next day and like it would be warm. I had that with the Asus laptop, which had the AMD processor. This one, I never had that. It always woke from sleep fine. It always went to sleep fine. I never had to configure anything different out of the box to just have it not drain battery in my backpack.
So I didn't have sleep problems at all with this either.
Okay, that's
and the one thing I did notice, and this is probably a machine-specific choice, is that instead of hitting space bar or opening the lid or whatever to wake it up, you always have to hit the power button. By the way, Adam, how's the battery life on the Claw?
The thing is, the way I like to use handhelds is that I'm usually on the couch in the living room, right next to a wall plug, and I want max power out of that thing, so I just plug it in. So honestly, battery life, the times that I did put it on battery, were few and far between, so I don't really have much to report there. Yeah, I mean, either way, I would sum it up and say like battery life.
Thumbs up for me.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, do I wish I had more? Yes, but it doesn't feel bad.
I never had battery life stress. The couple of times I got on a plane while I was carrying this laptop, I've never worried about it running out of battery, and we were good all the way through. So props on battery.
There you go. So we touched on it a little bit, but I think the next area of discussion is performance.
Yeah.
Because one of the things people were wringing their hands over really hard was Lunar Lake's only got 8 cores. Not only that, no hyper-threading.
And 4 of them are baby efficiency cores.
Oh my goodness. What can people do on that? That's like a baby computer for babies, right?
Well, it turns out when I do normal computing tasks, which is what I do on this Lunar Lake laptop, browsing, lots of tabs, lots and lots of tabs, Excel, Notion, watching videos, reviewing videos. I don't really use a lot of heavy lifting stuff. I don't do a lot of video editing on a laptop. If I'm going to do that, I walk into the desktop and like that's just the way I operate. But browser, Firefox with a million tabs open felt snappy. Switching between tabs felt snappy. Having big giant spreadsheets open with a million charts and stuff embedded in them was fine. I didn't use Gordon's Excel spreadsheet torture test, but that crushes Threadrippers, so it's not going to run very well here either, I think. I was pleased. This felt from a usability standpoint, it felt snappy like my big giant desktop in the other room with twice as much RAM and more threads.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'll say for me on this
Samsung Galaxy Book 5 Pro 360.
It was snappy in the normal sense, for sure. When I was doing the same kind of stuff, having Slack open, Discord, just browsing on the web, things like that, super snappy, quick to boot or like come out of sleep, all that kind of stuff. But where things, there are 2 places where it fell down for me. When I was at CES and I was doing a lot of photo editing, so just so you know, for me, I'll bring in a bunch of raw files, I'll organize them in our file structure way, and I'll use Adobe Bridge to kind of look through them quickly and figure out which ones I want, open it in Camera Raw to do any edits for the RAW, and then bring it over into Photoshop to kind of finalize it.
It's a real photography workflow.
Yeah, and under those circumstances, this thing started to chug. Adobe Bridge needs to generate previews, to give you kind of like a quick look at it while you're thumbing through.
That's part disk access, but also a lot of CPU as well.
A lot of CPU to generate those previews, and like during that time, like it almost crawled to, slowed to a crawl where I was like, oh, I just need to wait to not do anything else until that preview set. I mean, but then at that point when I was editing a singular video, unless I was going in and doing a ton of like corrections to it, because not only that, I had Slack open, I had Discord open, I had the tabs open, reviewing videos, all that kind of stuff at the same time, and so like it struggled to keep up under those heaviest workloads.
I'd be curious to see if that's a RAM issue, because the big difference between these two machines is that that's a 16 gig. And of course, with Lunar Lake, the RAM is actually on the CPU package. So that's 16 gigs of RAM on the package. It's the same speed, LPDDR5? 5X, yeah.
But same core count, same speed. Yeah, the 256 versus the 258. The only difference seems to be that we can tell is the configuration of the RAM.
Yeah.
And yes, I would look at the RAM, and I mean, listen, I'm sitting right here with only open 4 Chrome tabs, and I'm sitting at 67% RAM usage.
Well, and it's also important to note the GPU shares that RAM as well. So like you essentially have 8 gigs of working GPU memory and then 8 gigs of system memory, and it kind of shifts based on workload.
Yeah.
But this machine has 16 gigs of working memory and then 16 gigs of graphics memory when I looked at it a second ago. And I'd be curious to see if that same workload chugged on this machine, see if it's a limited number of cores or if it's just not enough working RAM.
Right? Yeah. So it's hard to parse between the two and know exactly in my use case which is which. Either way, when we talk about performance, this thing did not, like, I would not take this on another work trip in this configuration.
Yes.
I can't do that again.
So
like,
I
would need more power.
I did some light affinity photo stuff, definitely not working with a bunch of batch raw files, but editing photos from my phone, and I didn't notice any slowdown.
I will say on the Claw, it's a different kind of performance because they're, you know, the CPU cores, whatever, 8 cores for gaming is
You're fine.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So really we're there to talk about graphics performance. Did you do any gaming on your laptop?
So I loaded up a couple of games just before we recorded this video to kind of get a vibe check, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Like it's fine. This is a high resolution screen. Most of the games that I loaded up looked at the graphics and were like, oh no, you're not going to run it at native resolution, and then cut it down by half or turned on one of the upscaling methods if they had that in either FSR or XeSS if they supported those. The kind of games I'm going to play on a trackpad, I probably don't care that much about performance.
Yeah.
Even something like Diablo, which would run fine on this.
Yeah, well, so on the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus, which has the graphics are the main
It's the
star
same
of the show
CPU,
there.
right?
Yeah, same CPU, the 58. So it's got the 32 gigs of RAM, and it's really nice. So there, I'm comparing it to other handhelds that I use, right? The ROG Ally X. I've been using the GPD WinMax 2 2025 edition, so that has Strix Point in it. So Ryzen AI 370, I think, is what's in that one. And the MSI Claw is keeping right up.
Okay.
I mean, it's not pulling ahead, but it definitely is better than the original Claw that had Meteor Lake, which was like, you know, most of the time not really even competing at that level. Here, it was competing at that level. In some games, and it was also game specific though. I will say, like, some games I actually ran better on the Claw. It depended on the game. Either way, the performance, I was like, boom, I liked it.
Adam, I did notice one weird thing when I was with the graphics on this laptop. And that's that I have the Intel Driver and Support Assistant, which is a really convenient way to update all your drivers on your Intel machines.
Yep.
When I hit the check for updates button, it said, hey, there's an Intel Arc and Iris Xe graphics driver. And then underneath it had a warning I've never seen before. And it said, installing this graphics driver from Intel will remove customizations from your computer manufacturer, OEM. And it says, if a newer graphics driver is available from your computer manufacturer, we recommend that you install that instead. And then you had to click an I understand and wish to proceed box before you could install it from the Intel updater. But the MSI AI tool that they ship with this machine, that's kind of your MSI hub for all the
MSI
stuff
Center,
coming with it,
yeah.
it doesn't tell you when you have driver updates. So, and when you go over to the support tab and you hit the live update button for drivers and utilities, it just dumps you to a web page which has every driver for this laptop on it. And it's
And you have to download and install each one
manually like it's the 1900s again. And it's not like typically when I have a laptop from other vendors, I haven't had this experience. Usually there's one button, you hit the button, it downloads all your drivers. These are often a little janky, these tools, but this is something I wouldn't expect to have in this class of machine.
On this Samsung laptop, it actually does have a pretty good live update tool. And I did see that little check mark in the Intel thing, and there's like, oh, hey, do you want to download the Intel one? Yes, same disclaimer.
Presumably what that's going to do is adjust the kind of heat heat clock to heat generation balance of the cards?
Yes, the vendor is probably tuning it to say, hey, you know, like let's try to manage it for this, but typically it's going to come out a little bit later, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted those new improvements for what I was doing and just to kind of see how it ran. For me, I'm okay taking that risk on this device. I will say I did not do it on the Claw because I had that same exact prompt on the Claw, but that one is so tuned for TDP and or theoretically it's tuned because it's such a tight package that one I was not willing to do the risk. I was waiting for the MSI specific driver.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I think it depends on where you fall on that stuff, but yeah, it's a little weird. So I mean, performance, I would say for normal kind of stuff, performance awesome. On the Claw, performance, I loved it. Great. You know, I mean, there was still a little bit of driver things depending on the game, stuff like that, but that's still like just a caveat kind of thing.
Okay.
But under heavy workloads, just the configuration I had here just did not work for me. So yeah.
So the other thing I'll add is that there were a couple of times that I did some heavy like I find myself compressing zip files into 7 zip files fairly regularly, large ones, like lots of little files that ends up hitting the CPU pretty hard. And that was the only time I saw the fan that, and when I downloaded a game from Steam were the only times I heard the fan spin up, heard it generate enough heat.
Yeah,
spin up.
yeah. Well, so that's the other part of performance then is the knockoff effect, and some of this is very device specific, but I mean, still, we're talking about efficiency. We're still talking about Lunar Lake here. So yeah, in terms of heat for the device, in terms of fan noise, I mean, this like I did not feel like it got hot. I mean, one nice thing about having a big 16-inch screen is that you kind of disperse the heat across, and the fan noise. Like, I mean, yes, it would ramp up, especially when I was trying to do that photo editing stuff. But like, it's not. It's just normal fan noise.
I've had laptops that fired up the fan when you played a YouTube video before. This is not that.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
So charging the battery, it gets a little bit warm. But I mean, it is a big battery and it's a 65 watt PD charger, so makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. No. So in terms of heat and noise, like I don't love it. It's not silent. I wish it was
acceptable.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like, okay, this is just normal thin and light kind of laptop stuff.
Yeah.
I will say though, on the Claw, the fan noise on that, whatever they're doing with the tuning on that, it is one of the quieter handhelds that I've used.
Okay.
So I'll say there, the heat and the fan noise on the MSI Claw.
A+.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really nice.
I like that.
So the last major Lunar Lake specific topic I want to get into is AI. Because I don't know about
They
you.
love AI.
Man, AI has been a big selling point of not just Lunar Lake, but all these devices, right?
It's what the kids crave.
Right,
The kids are just out there saying, man, Microsoft, Samsung, MSI, please give me more AI.
Yeah, give me
They're
all
not saying
that
that.
sweet AI. If like I'm looking at this product page for the Samsung laptop specifically, and one of the very first things they point out is like, hey, supercharged AI performance, NPU up to 47 tops.
Yeah, they have 4 blocks on that picture, and one says CPU and one says GPU. That's central processing and graphics processing. One is NPU, which I think is neural processing, and then there's a blank. There's just an empty space there. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, it's just a filler.
It's just empty.
Yeah. All right. Well, what did you do with your 47 tops?
I blurred the background on my video when I was in a call once, but it doesn't work all the time.
Oh. Well, the camera or the blurring?
The camera. The blurring worked every time I tried it. The camera, a little iffy on this laptop, if I'm being honest.
Okay, that's weird. Maybe driver issues over on the MSI side.
They're working on it.
Did you do anything else AI with it?
So I hit the Copilot button once.
Oh, yeah, I've got a Copilot button. It's a full-size button.
And I asked it, mine's a half size, which is inappropriate. I would even take a quarter size if they could do that.
Just a little quarter size
Just
button.
like a little dimple, like maybe you need a paper clip to hit it. That's fine. That would be fine with me.
Okay.
I asked it what the square root of a butt was, and it told me that was very funny, but it couldn't give me the answer to that question.
Well, did that run locally on your 47 tops?
Sure. Why not?
It didn't.
No, it went to
It's
the
in
cloud?
Yeah.
This is a Copilot of lies.
Right, yeah. Well, did you do anything else, AI?
I blurred the background on a video.
Okay.
What about you, Adam? Did you do anything with your AI?
I actually did.
What?
I downloaded the
is shocking.
Intel Tool AI Playground for
Oh.
Intel Arc because
Yeah.
I was curious. I've actually been using on my desktop PC at home the AI Playground on a B580.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see like, hey, tell me to make a cute picture of a cat.
How'd that go?
I was doing that. It's fine. It made some cats.
Did it run locally?
It ran locally,
Okay.
yeah. And then I was like, well, crap, I've got 47 top NPU here on this laptop. Why don't I try loading AI Playground on this laptop as well? And considering we're talking about a desktop class GPU versus a laptop, it actually wasn't that much slower. It did churn out some cute cat pictures. So I did use the local tops here with the AI Playground. It's actually kind of a fun tool. You can do some stuff in there if you have this is only limited to Intel Arc systems. So there's a lot to talk about with AI. We don't need to get into it here, but I still don't feel like there's a killer app.
No.
To have all these tops, but maybe it'll come. Maybe we'll be ready for it.
Nothing that is essential here.
Yeah.
Like I said, a little button with a paper clip.
So let's wrap this up and talk about some of the device-specific talk. So this isn't. We're kind of past general Lunar Lake, which applies to everything. Now let's quickly kind of wrap up any thoughts we have for the devices. I'm going to start here with the Samsung. I will say I like the look of it. It is really slick. Like Samsung, I feel like has really nice touches. It feels very high-end, right? Especially for this price. This is a pricey model. So I had no problems with that. The screen, really big, really beautiful. I actually really like this form factor now. I feel like this is becoming in vogue where you get a very big screen, but it's thin and light, and the APU inside is enough performance to get you what you need typically, except for the 360. So this one is specifically the 360 hinge. You can go all the way back. It does have that nice pen support. The problem is that I never use the pen really. I thought I might use it a little bit.
Does it come with the pen?
It comes with the pen in the box. I did bring it to CES because I was like, oh, if I do any photo editing and I want to, remove some spots or something, that I could easily use the pen. I didn't end up using it. The touchscreen, really nice. I need to have a touchscreen on laptops.
You just love having fingerprints all over that screen.
I have to get them all smudged up.
Yeah.
I'm very much a firm believer of just like you're just sitting there, just scrolling down a web page. I also do like a numpad. This has a numpad on the side, and I know it does shrink the overall keyboard just a little bit.
Baby numpad though, isn't it?
That's fine. I need it. I can feel it when I don't have it, and that bugs me. But the trackpad, very large.
That is an
very
enormous
nice.
trackpad. Yeah.
The last thing to note for me is the speaker quality is meh. It's fine. It's okay.
It's better than this one.
Oh, really? Yeah. So what do you think? What do you got some notes on this one?
So I really like this. This is the first Windows laptop I've used in a long time that felt like an actual upgrade from my 2015 MacBook. Just in terms of human interaction stuff, the performance obviously has been better over the preceding years.
Oh, and it's a Windows.
It's a Windows.
And it's Windows.
But no, like in terms of the human interaction stuff, which is like the first thing I look at when I look at a laptop is how's the trackpad, how's the keyboard. Both feel entirely competent on this machine.
Okay.
The screen is really nice. It's a 2880 by 1800 OLED. It's only 13 inches, which is actually my preferred. This is my preferred size for a laptop.
Too small for me.
Because I'm rarely doing desktop replacement stuff on a laptop. I'm usually writing, web browsing, basic light computing is what I would call that probably. And I'd rather have the portability and the weight than the extra space.
Okay.
It doesn't have a touchscreen, which I thought was an interesting choice. I was surprised. I had to look it up when I opened this up and started using it.
Can't do it.
It turns out I'm fine. I don't use a touchscreen when I do have a laptop. My 12th gen Lenovo laptop that I was using prior to this has a touchscreen. When I gave it to my daughter, she was like, wait, this has a touchscreen? I've never seen you use that. I was like, yeah, no, only weirdos use touchscreens on Windows. One thing I really like about this laptop is the hinge design. So it's got this sideways kind of pivoting hinge that lifts the back up just a little bit.
Yeah, that's
which
fun.
means you get better airflow through the vents in the bottom that are the coolers attached to, and it comes out the top here a little bit. So you get just kind of nice angle for typing, whether it's sitting on your knees or on a table or something like that. I haven't had something that does this in a really long time. This used to be a Lenovo thing.
Interesting.
And I am generally a fan of it.
That's kind of fun, but it doesn't go. Oh, it does go.
It'll go all the way flat,
wow,
but it doesn't go past that.
Yeah,
I mean, we could try.
I mean, let's try it.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No.
Always be testing. That's what we say here.
Yes, exactly.
The Windows Hello stuff. So I think yours is a fingerprint sensor.
I've got both. I've got the fingerprint and the camera.
And the camera. I hadn't used a modern implementation of the Windows Hello face recognition camera stuff before. And it's really, really nice when it works. I realized as we were setting up to do this video and looked at the MSI Update Center thing for the first time that there is actually a camera driver update, which I'm going to hit after we finish this video and see if that fixes the problem where it kind of just stops working randomly out of nowhere. But when it works, you sit down in front of your computer, you look at it, and it wakes up. Right? It's incredibly nice. When you look away, the screen turns off. When you look back, the screen turns on. It feels like magic, and it's really, really snappy when it's working.
It is nice.
Overall, I'm really impressed with this laptop. It's a little bit expensive at $1,399.
These are all expensive, for sure, also expensive is the Claw 8 AI Plus. A lot of people were like, oh my goodness, it's $100 more than the ROG Ally X. I mean, what I've gotten from it, especially with that bigger screen, I do actually appreciate that. I like bigger screens on my handhelds. The Ally X, I think, is more... It's more portable, it's more easier to grip for sure, and kind of like that's the standard size. Fingerprint reader on it usually worked pretty good. For me, I would say the biggest downside is the ergonomics. Because it's so big and the way that the handles are around the sides, it was interesting. It forced me to actually rotate my wrists so that...
Oh, that's not good.
Well, no, actually it is good for me, because usually my wrists are rotated a little bit too much in this way.
Yeah.
So over time, like having my wrists straighter, I did have less wrist strain, especially because it is a heavier device. So I like that, except for because it's so tall, I couldn't reach the buttons all the time. That's probably my biggest downside. Other than the design, I mean, you take it or leave it. Design is very highly preferential, right? If you're in the case where maybe you're gonna like dock it to an eGPU and use it as like a full-fledged Windows device for work and all that kind of stuff, I would probably prefer that over the Ally X, honestly, just because it's Intel, it's
newer
Thunderbolt.
hardware,
Well, no, Thunderbolt, is just gonna work, right? And it's got 2 ports. That's really nice.
Oh,
so,
that's nice.
Yeah, all around, it's a good device. It is expensive, but I don't think it's like nobody should ever get it. I think there are legitimate reasons why maybe you would want to get it. So let's end this with some thumbs. How are we feeling about Lunar Lake? How are we feeling about the devices that we've been using? Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down, 2, 1.
I am generally more excited about Intel and AMD, frankly, too, making laptop processors than I have been in a long time as a result of the Lunar Lake and the Ryzen AI stuff that came out this year. I think, for me, for the way I use a laptop, Lunar Lake's perfect. It's not the fastest thing out there, but the battery life is really good. The standby life is really good. And this is a nice, tight, compact package, which is what I'm looking for. Like, if I was a more performance-oriented person, I think I'd probably look at the Ryzen AI, just looking at the benchmark results and the experience you had with that Asus machine earlier this year.
Yeah, that's Lunar Lake. Good job, Intel.
Yeah, thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up. I guess we will see what is in the future, because this Lunar Lake design with the package, memory and all that stuff is a dead end. Intel has said publicly that it's a dead end. So I'm curious to see where they go.
I was frankly kind of surprised by how few Lunar Lake designs are out on the market right now.
Yeah, no, I continue to look, and they're still just barely getting.
It's a handful of machines.
Yeah. Well, if you have any questions about these laptop designs, definitely let me know in the comments. Any other testing, any other thoughts that maybe we didn't get to, just ask down in the comments. While you're down there, be sure to subscribe here on PCWorld for more fun laptop testing. Thanks, Will, for hanging out.
Sir.
Thanks, everybody, and we will catch you in the next video.
Bye.